Hi, welcome to Painting with Victoria. I'm Victoria Gobel, and in today's lesson, we will be painting Cactus Sunset. So let's get started by applying the background. We're going to take our templates first. You have a cactus and a moon. So first we're going to place the cactus where we want it, and I'm thinking that this is probably, yes, this is right where I want it, off to the side a little bit, not in the middle. Makes for better composition if you put it off to the side. So take out your pencil and then go ahead and trace around the entire template. So I have traced my moon and my cactus. Now let's get started painting the beautiful sunset that goes behind our cactus. So we're going to take our flat brush, your 1/2 flat brush, and let's start with yellow ochre. Yellow ochre is a beautiful mustard color, and I use it a lot in my paintings because it's such a rich color. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start painting around my cactus and around my moon. Try to, if you get out of the lines, don't worry about it because we're going to go back in and cut it in with another color. So and what I'm going to concentrate on right now is this middle part of the sunset. Don't worry about cutting it in on the top or the bottom just yet. We're gonna change colors when we get to that. So just gonna concentrate on this middle area. And as you can see, I'm definitely getting out of the lines, but that doesn't matter because I can see the lead coming through it. All right. At this point, I am going to want to change out my colors. Keep this wet as possible so we can blend them all in. You come around the side of the moon here. Okay, so now I'm going to apply magenta to my yellow ochre, and I absolutely love magenta. Magenta is the most gorgeous color. As you can see, as I spread it out here, it's just a beautiful, beautiful color. And if I mix it in with the yellow ochre, I just get a lovely, lovely color, warm, warm magenta color. And so what I'm gonna do is start applying it to the top part of my painting. Blending it right into the yellow ochre. So just keep blending and blending, and then we're going to take this lovely color and go right up to the top. Sunsets are always lots of reds and oranges and yellows, and they're just so pretty when you see a lovely desert scene. So at this point, I want my strokes to somewhat go across like this. So I'm going to just go ahead and swipe it across, even if it means I'm going right over my moon and my canvas. That doesn't really matter because, like I said, I'm going to go back in and cut those in again. Nice. While it's wet, I'm going to take some magenta, straight magenta, and run it along the top. Going side to side, all the way across from one end to the other. This is just absolutely so rich and beautiful. Don't be shy. Just apply that on. Great. And blend it as we get further down. You want to not press as hard, just very light. Okay, so now we're gonna concentrate on the ground. So I'm gonna rinse my brush out, get rid of the magenta. Okay, so because I was working on this for a while, this got a little bit dry. Acrylic paint does that, it dries very fast. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply again and go across, always in this motion. Across, blend it right into the last color that I just did. Nice. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is take the yellow ochre and mix it with a little of the burnt umber. So now I'm going to get a nice caramel color. And let's go ahead and put a little magenta in that just to make it a little bit more fun. And now I'm going to go ahead and start with the bottom and work my way up to the yellow ochre and blend it right in. And as you can see, I'm definitely getting out of the lines as far as my template goes. That's okay. Blend it all the way to the top till it just graduates into that. It's kind of an ombre look. So we'll go ahead and do the other side. We're almost there. And just keep blending it in. And we'll come back later and do a little bit more detail on the ground. But I really like the way this looks now, so I think what I'm going to do is just stop and take this outside, let it dry. If it's a cold and wintry day, then just take a blow dryer and blow dry it for about 5 minutes. But this is a good place to stop, and we'll come back and start on our cactus. Okay, so my canvas is dry to the touch. This is the way it has to be before we actually start tracing the template on it again. So what I'm going to try to do is just match up what I did before and only go over the areas that got covered up with a lot of paint. So I'll just go ahead and retrace those lines. For the most part, I can pretty much see my my cactus. Let's see here. This one got covered up, and right here. And then my moon definitely got covered up quite a bit. So I am going to go ahead and try to, yeah, it was just like this. And this way, when I go to block it in, I'll be able to see it better. Okay. All right, so now what we're gonna do, it's super easy. We're just gonna take our green oxide and take our flat brush, and we're just going to fill it in. Solid green. This goes on actually very nice, so you shouldn't need 2 coats. And after we block this in, we're going to block in the moon and let it dry so that we can do all the details after that. Okay, so I have blocked in my moon white and I've got my cactus green. This has to be very dry before we go on to the detail. So this is a good time to take a break, go have some coffee and a snack, and come back when it's really dry and I'll take you to the next step. Okay, so your painting should be dry to touch, And we are going to be using the sponge in the next part. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight our cactus. And what highlight means is the light source is going to be coming from this direction in here. So all of the areas of our cactus on this side will be lighter than the sides on the right. So let's go ahead and take our oxide green and mix it with some yellow ochre to make a lighter shade, but not too much lighter. So here's the contrast right here you should be looking for. There's the green that you put down, and this is the color that we're going to be applying right now. So using your flat brush, what we're going to start with is, let's start with this one over here on the top. And what I'm going to do is just kind of paint it around the left side. And then I'm going to take my sponge and blend until it goes into the green, just like that. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing to this one here. Come all the way down and take our sponge. You can do a little scrubbing action. And because this is a cactus, you can pat it as well and gives it a lovely, lovely texture. There we go. So let's go ahead and do this cactus in here, which is in front of this one. I'm gonna go ahead and take my paint and come across here and just eyeballing this and bringing it down to here. And blend. This is really fun. I use a lot of sponges when I shade. It just comes out so nice and smooth. So we have just a couple more to go. After we get done with this, we're going to work on that moon for a little while, and this will be drying while we're working on the moon. Pat, 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 gives it a nice texture. There we go. And we have one more to go. And I think I want this one to be in front instead of being behind, like this one is in the back. So what I'm going to do is bring it around the front, like that, and shade. There we go. Yes, that looks good. So while this is drying, we're going to work on the moon for a little while. So let me rinse out my brush. At any time, if you feel that your water is getting kind of muddy, take a break, go rinse out your jar and get some clean water in there. Okay, so I want my moon to be kind of a warm sunset color moon. So I'm going to go with the yellow ochre and white and make it just a light mustard color. So I'm going to go ahead and start here on the middle and just come across and just do the middle part of it. All right. Now I'm going to take my paintbrush and dip it in white and come across on the inside and then blend that in to my center color. In other words, I wanted that to be lighter in shade than what's going to happen on the outside of the moon. So now I'm going to rinse my brush out, dry it off pretty good here, and let's just dip it in the mustard color, yellow ochre, and come along the outside of our moon. So I've got kind of like 3 shades going on. And I'm going to blend that in to the center. There we go. And that's just a good place to stop. So let's see how this is feeling. I think it needs a little bit more drying time, so let's work on the bottom. And don't forget, anytime that you want to press pause and rewind and watch what I'm doing again, please feel free to do that. You're supposed to just have fun doing this and it shouldn't be stressful, so please take all the breaks that you want. So what I want to create here is a soft mountainscape in the background. So I'm going to go back to burnt umber, yellow ochre, and I'm going to put a tiny bit of that magenta in it. And those three colors just make the most gorgeous neutral color. And so what I'm going to do is just slightly give it a soft mountain effect like this. And fill it in. There we go. Kind of cut around your cactus as best as you can without touching the cactus. There we go. Okay, now we're going to add burnt umber to that mixture to make it darker. And I'm going to lift this up just a smidge so I can get right underneath it. And now we're going to go with the darker brown color right underneath our cactus. Okay, just like you did with this color up here, you made a soft mountainscape. We're just gonna, this is the ground, so I don't want it to be a straight line. I'm kind of making it have a soft curve and all the way down to the bottom. I want to fill that in and continue to do that on this side. And this just gives us a couple of levels. I've lifted it up here just so we can get right underneath here. Okay. And we're almost done with this part, and we can get right to shading our cactus again. There we go. There. All right, so now what we're gonna do is highlight our cactus some more, and I knew that this would be dry. It's already dry. That's what I love about acrylic paint, is it dries so quickly. So I'm gonna take the same flat brush and dip a little bit of white into that mixture that we made here, which was yellow ochre and the green oxide. So I'm gonna mix that and make a lighter shade of it. It's very important that we graduate with our shadows. You can't put them all at one time. It has to be done in different levels. And we are gonna be using the sponge again. So let's go ahead and do the same thing we did before, except with this color here, which is a very pretty sage green. And remember how we did the pat pat thing? I think that's really important with this because it gives it texture, it gives our cactus texture. So here we go, rubbing it in. There. Give it a few more highlights. Stay away from this side right here because this we're going to actually darken, and that will be the shadowed side of our cactus. So let's go ahead and do the same thing again. Right, so I have just finished the last one. I think I'm going to hit it right here a little bit more, really wake that up, get some more light source on there, and maybe a little bit more here. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're actually going to apply a darker green on the right side, and it will make it look even more dimensional. So I'm going to clean this brush out. And we're gonna let's mix some of the green oxide with the burnt umber. There we go. And that's beautiful. So it's not quite that green, but it's not the brown. It's just a lovely dark olive color. So I'm gonna come along on this side right here and hit it. I'm gonna just use my finger on this one. And look what that does. It just gives it a lovely shadow. Same thing with this. This is when we get to finger paint. Okay, so come across down here. Make sure you come underneath this one right here because it would have a slight shadow. This one would have a very, very dark shadow right here because this one's in front. So we'll go ahead and I think I'm going to use my sponge on this side. And we just have to do that side and we can start on our details. Very good. Okay, so now we're going to start with the needles, but the needles go into a tiny little hole on each part of the cactus. And this is a little time consuming, so this might be a good time to take a break and stretch and have a snack, because when you start this next part, it's going to take some time. I'm actually going to put it on time lapse so you don't have to watch me do each one. So I will demonstrate how to get started. And what you're going to do is dip it right into the green oxide. And let's see, I think what I'm going to do is put a tiny, tiny bit of the burnt umber in that. Not too much though. And pick a place anywhere you want and go ahead and put it down. And what you're going to do is put a dot, and then you're going to take your finger and go around and around. And then you're going to make another dot, and you're going to go around and around like that. And I kind of just look at it as like little polka dots. But this is very important because on a cactus, when the needle's coming out, it kind of punches into the cactus, and that's what this is going to create. So I'm going to go ahead and do my entire cactus now, and you just have fun with this, and we'll check back when you're all done and I'll show you the next step. Okay, I'm actually almost done here. Just got a few more to go. I bet you by now you're really tired of painting these, but it's very essential, so I hope if you're done, we're ready to get started with the next part. And what that's going to be is we're going to take the brown, the burnt umber, and mix it with more green and make a very, very, very dark color. And all you're going to do is dot the inside of each one. You're going to put a little tiny dot in each one, just like this. Make sure it shows. All these cactus have it. And do put a few on the outside of your cactus too. You want to make sure that it looks natural. Okay, so I'm approaching the last few dots, and now it's a good time to let these dry. And the reason is we're going to do our needles, and if these dots are wet, then your needles are going to be brown and white instead of them just being the creamy color they're supposed to be. So make sure you haven't missed anything and that you've gotten all of your little circles and dots all done, and I think this is good. So I'm gonna let this dry really good and then come back and we're gonna do the final details. Hi there, welcome back, and your painting should be dry to touch. So we're going to work on the needles right now, and that's kind of the finishing touch. But before we get started, let's put a little bit of shadows down here at the bottom, just so that it looks like it's got a lot more dimension. So what I'm gonna do is take the green oxide and the burnt umber and just kind of hit it along the bottom here. Just the very bottom, and then I'm going to brush my finger up like this, and this just kind of helps it look a little bit more planted. And then I'm going to want to shadow this a little bit more underneath here. That's good. And then maybe just a little bit more back here. Take care of these shadows now, because once I do the needles, it's a lot harder to do that. This is a good place too. Okay, done with that. So let's get started with our needles. Now the needles are not going to be straight white. I'm going to mix a tiny bit of this yellow ochre into my white, and so it's actually more of a cream color when I get done. And if you ever look at needles on a cactus, they are definitely on the white colored side. So I mixed a little bit of water in my paint, and all that does is make it glide a lot easier when I go to apply it to the canvas. If it's too thick, it's just harder to get that freedom to make it flow. Okay, so here we go. I always say start from the top and work yourself down, because if you go like this and you go like and you work up, your hand is going to hit all the needles that you just painted and smear them. So start from the top and work your way down. So we'll go ahead and, and we're going to use the number 2 round. And if you start with the middle and shoot up like this, that's all it takes. Shoot up, just like that. And don't forget to do the outside of the cactus, even though there's not a little dot there, because it's the ones that are poking from the back. So here we go. Some of them can be super long, some can be short. It is a cactus, so there's not any rule of where those needles are supposed to be going. Sometimes I kind of put them in different directions. Sometimes I put 2, sometimes I put 3 coming out of one of the little holes. But the important thing is that you make sure that you put the needles on every single one of them, and don't forget to put some along the sides, just like I did right here. There's no dot there, but I went ahead and put one there, and there's none here. Okay, so you don't want to have to watch me do every single needle, so we're going to go ahead and put this on time lapse. Take your time, because this is the last part of our painting, and this is also very relaxing. Okay, so as you can see, I'm reaching the end of my needle making, needle painting, I should say. So I want to make sure there's nothing else that needs to be added, maybe a few down here. But this is really it. This is the final touch, and as you can see, it really looks like a cactus now because of the needles. So I'm looking and thinking, you know what? This is a good place to stop. The only thing left to do is to sign it. So I'm gonna sign my painting, and I hope you enjoyed yourself today. I know I did. This is always one of my favorite things to paint is cactus, just because you can make a lot of mistakes and it doesn't really matter because it's a cactus. So it's not like painting a horse or something like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign my name. It's very important that you sign your paintings because years later, your children and friends will admire that this was one of your paintings and cherish it for years and years. So thank you for coming, and I hope you enjoyed yourself, and check out all of my other online classes on YouTube, and you can send away for those fun painting kits on my online store. And until we meet again, happy painting.